Command Point is sponsored by Crossfire Games. Use code CommandPoint25 at checkout to get 5% off your next purchase. Link in the description. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Command Point. My name's Ryan, and today I'm here with Shane.
Hello, how's it going?
Great. Shane, tonight we are doing a tier list. February Kill Team Balance data slate just came out, so a lot of people want to know, what we think of the balance data slate changes, where, it moves the needle on some of these teams, bumps them up a tier, bumps them down a tier. Also, Kill Team Shadow Hunt is a very recent release for this team, or for this game, so we're going to be talking about, where we think both of those teams should rest too. So, before we get into that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any of our upcoming future Kill Team content. And all of that, interaction with our channel helps to grow the channel. So appreciate you guys for doing that. So without further ado, Shane, where should we get started?
There's a good chunk of teams that we're not going to be ranking, I guess, to start, because we're not going to be ranking the classified teams because they're not going to be legal at, official GW tournaments and a lot of the bigger majors. And quite frankly, it's just too many. So we can get those out of the way. And from there, I think let's start with Kasrkin, because Kasrkin got some buffs.
Yes.
And I think they're kind of interesting.
Okay.
So Kasrkin has kind of been sitting around the worst team in the game reputation tier for a good while now.
Yeah.
And they have been buffed numerous times since then. And I honestly think that they're actually they're easily not the worst team in the game. I mean, it's not even a question in my mind. But I would say that, I still wouldn't take them to win a GT or a major. Quite honestly, I think there's just too many drawbacks. I think the niche of that team is just, there's too many landmines they can run into. If they're out activated, I think they struggle. If they're playing into a really tough melee horde, I think they struggle. But if they're playing against elite teams or teams that they out activate in general, they're extremely, extremely difficult to beat in the hands of a good player. So they used to be bottom of D tier. I would put them as a low B tier, maybe high C tier. Do you have any thoughts? I don't know if you've really looked at their rules since the last set of changes. They can double shoot now. They can do
they can double shoot with their hotshot weapons. If they don't do any sort of movement, right, it costs them all of their APL to do that. So I mean, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and put them at a low B. They're the first team on the board at B, but just so they are not going to be saying near A. That's not going to happen. And then I think it's too early to tell. We'll just see how it pans out, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they might have some tools to get a couple wins here and there.
Yeah, and I think there are elite teams, I would say all the elite teams just about, outside of maybe Murderwing for reasons we'll get into.
Yeah.
Where playing an elite team against Kasrkin, I mean, it just feels borderline unfair for the elite player. I think if it's a good Kasrkin player, not a lot of people are playing them. The tournament sweaty players for the most part aren't playing them that I've seen. But they are a hard skew in my opinion.
I mean, this was the team that I played the last two games of Kill Team that I've played. Shane, we're just gonna get right in with the Deathwatch, 5 operative team, where there are some elite teams that have one more operative than that. They're a very straightforward team to play, and I think they're a very straightforward team to play against. They don't really have a lot of tricks. They just have firepower and beef. And their firepower has gotten nerfed a little bit with their changes to the special issue ammunition. I feel like this happens every edition in 40k or in Kill Team for Deathwatch, unfortunately. Team comes out, army comes out, their special issue ammo is too strong, and then it gets curbed, and then people are like, well, why am I even playing the army anymore? Um, so for that, I think Shane, I'm thinking low A, high B. Um,
Well, that's higher than what I was gonna say.
really? Okay.
Um,
Okay.
if
Oh,
so, I
Kasrkin
can
might
give my
smoke
full
these
hot take on
guys.
Deathwatch.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead. You have the floor.
I think that going into Worlds, myself and just about everybody else thought that Deathwatch was, a kind of a close to busted or at least like a top three, top five team.
Hmm.
And then at Worlds, a couple of them made top 16, but none of them made top eight. Largely, they didn't perform amazingly at Worlds Deathwatch. They definitely seemed overshadowed by the other top tiers. And I think when they came out and I was playing against them, I was having some struggles as I got used to the team's mechanics, just
Hmm.
like the general experience of playing against them. But after, it's been 5 or 6 months, the team has been out now.
Yeah.
They feel very beatable to me,
They feel
and they
solved.
felt pretty beatable to me. Yeah, they feel well. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say solved, but I think playing against them feels really like it always feels beatable. Never feels uphill. Pretty much no
Hmm.
matter what team I'm playing. Um, and I think I felt that way before they got a couple sets of nerfs.
Yeah.
So um, I don't know. I think a five operative team is just unless you have like a crazy gimmick. I think five
Yeah.
operatives is not enough, and Deathwatch doesn't really have a crazy gimmick. I think they're like a C,
All right.
honestly.
So Shane, go ahead and pick the next team you want us to talk about here.
Let's talk about the Celestian Insidians, the new sisters.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they are kind of a like an interesting team. I mean, they are on one hand they're a nine operative team with Seek and Security, which I think is not a great recipe off the start. But they've got some pretty great anti melee tech. They've got some really nice, I would say, I don't know about really nice, but I think they've got decent damage output, respectable at least. And they're pretty beefy, at least if they get their stuff set up. So, I mean, just
Yeah.
in general, they're 9 wounds, which is a nice break point. And they have a 3-up save, which is obviously great. And if they're inspired, then they get damage reduction in melee, which is really good. So that means it's hard to shoot them and it's hard to melee them. But I think they run into some problems when they play against really fast, really aggressive melee teams that can kind of exploit the fact that Insidiants largely, at least in the early game, don't have very long threat ranges and can stage aggressively against them in a way that they can easily charge onto the non-inspired Insidiants and take them out in melee. So I think they do have some struggles into some of the elite teams, especially the melee elite teams. I think um, some of the melee horde teams, I think, can also give them trouble, which is kind of interesting because I think, like I said, they have a lot of anti melee tech. Um, I will say overall they feel pretty balanced. They don't offer anything that feels crazy unfair. Um, I think they're a pretty well designed team,
Hmm.
honestly. Uh, and I would lean towards saying that they're a B tier,
B tier.
probably. I mean, for sure above Kasrkin, I think.
Yeah. Um, I have a question for you about this team, Shane. How do you think your brain would feel after playing, let's say, like 5 or 6 rounds over the course of a weekend with this team? Because there's so many tokens that you're putting across this team.
I think they're a team that takes a few times to get used to, but once you do, it's not too bad.
Okay.
I think if I really like grinded this team and got like practice in before a tournament, I wouldn't feel too overwhelmed. At the end of the day, it is still only 9 operatives, without too many crazy like built-in abilities. Like the operatives themselves are pretty straightforward. I think the more complex part is like juggling the buffs and deciding which benedictions to hand out. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think they're reasonable.
Okay. So next team I think we're going to talk about here is going to be the Blades of Khaine, Shane. I ran a game with them not too long ago, and there's a lot of things that I really like about this team. They can depending on how you kit them out, you have access to all of the attack ops in the game, right? The Howling Banshees are, in particular, awesome operatives. I think the Striking Scorpions are good too, and the Dire Avengers, they have their place, but overall, the Howling Banshees have been my favorite models so far in this team. Um, I feel like they have pretty good matchup into most teams. They're not a world beater, I don't think. They're definitely not like S or maybe even A tier, but I think they give you a pretty good chance into most teams just because of that, because of the tac op selection and a lot of their tricks with all of their aspect warrior techniques and everything. I think they're a perfectly fine balanced team. Probably put them in B tier at this point. Um, Probably above the Kasrkin, below the Insidians. I don't know. I'm curious as to what you
I think
think of
they're
that placement.
I think they're better than Insidians.
Okay.
I mean, I would, I don't know. To me, they feel like a low A tier, but I mean, we don't have our tiers built out yet,
Yeah.
so it's hard to say. I think having every tac op and having, so many different options at any given time, just with like all the aspect techniques and, pretty good set of firefight ploys. They have awesome equipment. Um,
Yeah.
I like the team's like flexibility. I think there's certain areas where they don't skew as hard,
They're
maybe,
toolboxy.
and because of that, yeah, yeah, they're
Hmm.
they're very much a toolbox team. I think they're pretty good, hard to play, but I don't know. I mean, we can keep them B for now.
Sure.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out and then smooth it over once we're all done ranking everything. What do you got next for us, Shane?
Ooh, let's talk about the let's talk about Gormongers. I think that Gormongers are a team that when they came out, I think they had a lot of hype. They were pretty widely considered to be um, like borderline OP on release.
Yeah.
They've only received like very small, well, not small nerfs, but their healing got toned down a little bit,
Hmm.
and like their damage reduction got like a min cap of 2 or something, so that it can't go too far below. And then Raveners came out, which were a really good team against Gormongers, uh, and they were kind of a meta menace for a brief period. Um, but Raveners have been nerfed; they're not as frequent. They're I think Raveners are taking a much bigger hit than Gormongers. Um, and I think because of that presence, a little bit um, along Deathwatch, maybe I don't know, and especially Canoptic on release. I think Gormongers didn't really make a much of a splash at Worlds. Not a lot of people took them, and they didn't. They like no Gormongers made top 16, but I think right now they're really good. I would probably I don't know. They're a team that I would be considering if I was going to a big tournament right
Mm.
now.
Okay.
Um, I think that they are, yeah, A tier is my thought. Like they have such like a level of durability that some teams just can't like chew through it,
Yeah.
especially against like like a yeah, like a Gormonger player that's like positioning smartly. Um, they have really long threat ranges. Uh, I think a big part of it is they have recon, which I think is really strong
Yeah.
right now.
Hmm.
Um, and just as like a general rule, I'll be honest, I don't think you can put a team that has recon below C tier. Like,
I
I
think
think
that's
that
fair to
not that
say.
recon is like
Yeah.
yeah, not that recon is like the best archetype, but it's the safest by far. Like you almost can, you almost like can't like you're not going to have like a whiff game where you score like 1 point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have recon
Hmm.
like available to you.
Hmm.
Um, and Gormongers have the durability to like shut certain teams down. They have really good threat ranges. They're super fast. Uh, they have great tac ops, and I think that you can play them patiently, or you can play them really aggressively, and you can pivot your play style depending on your opponent. And I think that's really strong. So yeah, no, I think A tier feels really good for Gormongers. I don't know if people are like on that wavelength yet, but I think they're really good.
Let's talk about the Angels of Death here. They got a buff
Yeah.
in that you can take the Eliminator and the Heavy Bolter guy in the same team now. You are not limited
Yeah.
to one or the other, and the Heavy Bolter guy also got a bolt pistol, so he can double shoot, and you're not having to spend all three of your APL. So that's neat, but otherwise not very exciting. I think those were the only buffs that they got. Shane, do you know if that's correct? Have you looked at these guys at all since the balanced data slate?
I get it mixed up because they received some buffs right before Worlds, and like nobody played them at Worlds, but the buffs were pretty nice that they got then.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got more buffs, the ones you're talking about after in the most recent data slate. I think they're actually pretty good. Um, Honestly, like I think that they have a really good toolbox. Obviously, getting the sniper and the heavy gunner, I don't know if that's something that people want to do, but
Yeah,
I think
it.
having the option for it is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that I've talked to that love taking the heavy gunner, and I know the heavy gunner wasn't the most popular pick, but um, now that it's not replacing the sniper, I think that you're going to see more usage out of that operative. Um, and then the people that were already playing him are obviously going to keep playing him. But I think overall, it just kind of expands the toolbox. They're kind of a toolbox team, the way I
Mm-hmm.
see it. Like it's weirdly, they feel kind of like a elite. I don't know. I don't want to say elite Blades of Cain because they're nothing like elves, but they
Yeah.
do have like they don't have crazy flashy individual operatives, but they have a lot of samey operatives that can do a lot of stuff, which is kind
Redundancy.
of what I think of when I think of Blades of Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of redundancy. Um, and I think like, the tools that they have are not crazy flashy. Like tilting shields aren't that flashy, but it's a really good thing that I think people kind of underrate. I think
Mm-hmm.
like the average player kind of underrates. Um, Stuff like having resolute. Resolute's amazing. Um, just being able to ignore stun as an elite team, I think is powerful.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's I don't know. I don't know if
It sounds
I
like
feel
it
like I want to
sounds
say
like
they're
you're
A
gonna
tier.
say A tier. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're pretty good. I really do. I think they're like super underrated
All
and they're just
right.
kind of boring.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I think they're one of the better elite teams.
That's interesting. I'll have to break him out again sometime soon.
Let's talk about Vespids. Vespids have been, I feel like people really want Vespids to be a thing.
They really want it.
And, they are, yeah, I mean, they are a lot better than they were before. They didn't get any changes, I don't believe, in the most recent data slate, which I am glad for. I was kind of worried they might get more buffs. Just because they are very much like they're a super one-dimensional team. They just kind of like move and shoot, but they're really good at doing that. So like if you're not good at surviving against those profiles, and if you're not particularly good at killing 9 wound operatives, they can be kind of a nightmare to play against. But they kind of fall into that category of like I would not take this team to a big event and expect to top eight or win. They feel like a C tier to me below Deathwatch. They're just like a weird team where I never want to face them at a tournament, but I don't want to play them either. Um, they're just sort of like
Kind
very killy. They are
kind of skewy.
deceptively like tricky.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And they have some tricks that will catch you off guard, but I think that they can kind of stat check some teams. Like I played against them at Nova with Jaegers. And like if you ever played Jaegers against Vespids, it's just like hell on earth. Like they fly over your mines, all your damage adds up to 8, and they have 9 wounds. They have like the exact like Dev 2 and piercing, so like your damage reduction isn't really helping because it's all 3/3, and like most of the damage coming through is the Dev anyway. So like certain teams they stat check, not in my opinion a serious team for trying to win a major, but they're like a real team. They're not like a meme anymore.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, it's good to see so far that we don't have anything in D tier. I'm I'm kind of hunting for a D tier operative or a D tier team out of this list that we have here, Shane, and I don't know much about the team I'm thinking of, so I'm not going to speak to it, but let's talk about the Space Wolves, Shane. Talk about this Space Wolf kill
Yeah,
team.
well, that's not a D tier.
Nope, nope.
That's certainly not a D tier.
We're gonna hard pivot. We're gonna hard pivot here. So they got some nerfs in the new data sheet, which makes them a little bit more balanced. What's the
Yeah,
strap
they're
play?
they're way more like beatable now.
Yeah, they have one strap play in particular that I'm thinking of. That it was the damage reduction ploy. It no longer or not.
Yeah, they have two ploys. They have a strategy play and a firefight play that trigger after a fight. If you were to live, if both operatives live, but they made it so those don't work on the leader with his grizzled veteran because he has a thing
Right,
where when he dies, like the sequence ends and he just lives on one.
right.
And what would happen was you would charge him and you'd probably eat like 12 damage worth of crits, and then you'd kill him, and then he wouldn't die, and then you would take D3 more damage plus or D3 plus one more damage, and then he could pay a CP to fight you and probably crit you again. So you're taking like probably like 18 plus D3 plus one. You just die. Like anything just
Yeah.
dies against him.
Mm-hmm.
But now that doesn't work. That being said, and also the -1 attack in the storm only happens if you're retaliating against the Space Wolves. So if you charge and fight them, you still have your max attacks.
Yep.
So you have a little bit more agency to play aggressive against them. Um, I think where they shine is like they have that charge from conceal still, so they can be hard to approach sometimes, especially for shooty teams, especially with the dog charging in the strategy phase if you get too close. They've also still got the silent guarding sniper if he's in the storm, which is just insane. It's really powerful. Um, yeah, I mean the team has a pretty good toolbox. They have, I would say, too much stuff still in terms of like ignoring injury, ignoring stun,
Yeah.
ignoring APL modifiers, um, stuff like that. I think that they are, and I think that just in general, their damage is probably still a little too high, like lethal 5, like chain swords across the board,
Yeah, it is
and
crazy.
plasma pistols. I mean, they're probably still S tier, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
but they were like stupid, like giga busted before. Some people are going to be salty about this one, but I mean, it's not that crazy. It's stealth suits, right?
that
Um,
that's
the other
that's what I
team
was
in the
thinking,
box.
but yeah, I don't think I've
I
looked
have,
at the rules
yeah.
for these guys since.
Although I'm kind of breaking my own rule here because
Mm.
they have recon. So I actually think they're C tier.
Okay, okay.
um, but I actually don't think they're D tier. And so here's the thing. Um, I believe it was Chris Baki played this team at Palm Springs Open like last month, and he didn't like win the event or anything, but he may have top aided, and he started off like 4 or 5-0 with them, and then he did some interview on Squad Games, I think it was, and went in depth talking about like the play style. And the thing about them is they're aggressively lame to play as and against. Um, and it's because they suck that you have to play them this way. Not just because they suck, but because just the way that they're designed and the fact that they kind of suck, you have to play like a very cagey game. And you have to take like the patient part of like patient hunter. You have to take that very literally and you have to play them that way. And it's not particularly fun. They're super cagey and they don't score very high. They just try to suppress your score
Okay.
and um, and try to just outscore and they're not very exciting or anything. And they do. I think they do suck, and I do think they need some buffs. But I think the reason we're going to see this team fail is more because players are most probably unwilling to play them the way that you need to play them in order to win. I know I am. If I tried to play stealth suits, I would crash out. I would be terrible because it's not my play style. It's like very boring. It's very sit back and wait.
Uh-huh.
Um, it does work to some degree, but it's not the most engaging. And like I said, they have recon, and I don't think you can be below C tier with recon. That's my rule.
That's the rule, and we're sticking to it.
So still no D tier. Sorry.
Moving on to here. I don't know. I might have one here for you. The Navis Breachers. Navis Breachers. Shane, did the Navis Breachers get anything good in this balanced data slate? I genuinely have
They
not
sure
checked.
did.
All right, I'm wrong then. They are not going to be D tier from the sound of it. Uh, so
No,
Shane,
I don't think they're. I don't think they are.
so yeah, last I checked, these guys were like way too one-dimensional to play. What have the challenges brought to this team, or the changes? What changes have been?
So ye- yeah. So the first of all, their close assault has been buffed pretty. I would say considerably. Before it used to give punishing if you're within 3 inches of an enemy and attacking them. Now it is. Uh, they might have kept the punishing part, but I do know there's an element now where if you, it's basically like purity seals. If you're within 3 inches of an enemy, like if you roll two or more fails, you can turn one of them into a success. Which I think is a great change. My biggest problem when I was playing them briefly last year was like they are very unreliable. Like you have your attack order, which you set up to get ceaseless in a certain part of the board, but when you're not fighting near the attack order, you just kind of suck. Like you're just hitting on fours, right, with no rerolls,
Yeah.
and like the only thing you'd have is like punishing maybe, which is when you're rolling four dice with no rerolls, it's very dicey whether or not you get a crit to even benefit from the punishing. So, and then like say you lose initiative and you put your attack order down, and your opponent might like move in a way where that spot where you put your attack order is no longer very good. And in order to move it to a useful place, you have to activate your leader and move it, and that's a whole activation. So it would be kind of difficult to like get going, especially if you wanted to play them aggressively. Um, but you know, with this change, and that was not the only change. That was in my mind like the most significant change. Um, Let me pull up their thing. I got it right here.
Sure.
The other change that they got was oh yeah, and also the other part of close assault, which is great. Um, you also if you're within three of the enemy, now you add one to the damage stats of your shotguns. So your shotguns go to 4/4. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very big deal. I think that was really the only change. There was like a wording change on overall on target to make it's like a quality of life change for the order of operations, basically. They are still like a very tanky, like skewy kind of horde that it's really hard to play aggressively against them. And I do think that their damage reduction that they have is too good. I think it's like objectively too strong, but the team has sucked for so long that it hasn't really mattered. The question is this enough to make them all of a sudden a serious team? Are they reliable enough to go along with their tankiness? And I think they're probably B tier if I have to like
Okay.
go with my gut right now and put them somewhere. They do have like crazy turn two like alpha strike potential with the skull, which is pretty strong. Um, now you don't have to like you have some level of reliability without being near the attack order. And then if you're near
Hmm.
the attack order, it's like super duper reliability. So pretty good. Okay, I think the actual D tier is Battleclad. Um,
Man, still.
but then again, but then again, they do have recon, right?
There it is. Maybe there are no D tier teams. Maybe the game is just in such a good balance state
I
right
mean,
now.
I think the game is pretty balanced. I mean, there's a few things at
Yes.
the top that are
Yeah.
pretty cracked,
Yeah.
but um, look, I mean, Battleclad got a lot of changes. Um, their phosphor weapons got blast 1 inch. Um, they got some quality of life buffs for their like melee equipment. You can move now when you transfer power. Uh, they're not D tier. They are probably like a low C tier because I still think they run into a lot of the problems where like I think they are very good when you out activate your opponent, but I think they struggle a little bit if they are out activated. And I don't think they necessarily have like the explosive big play potential. They're probably I would put them above stealth suits, below Vespids probably.
Okay.
God, yeah, I don't know if there is a D tier, man. I don't even know if there is a D tier.
Well,
We're gonna have to keep going
we're
and
gonna
find out.
find it.
But
We're gonna find it. Um, Let us talk about Let's talk about the Plague Marines. Figure out where they are in this meta.
They're just kind of they're tanky. Um, I mean, they still haven't, in my opinion, recovered fully from the contagion nerf, which I think was needed, possibly, debatably. Uh, but now it's like, they are just relying a little bit more on the damage reduction and getting poison out in order to create those situations. They're still a 6 operative elite team. I do think for them, like you're really shoehorned into playing security a lot of the time. Like they're not very fast to the point where they can like get into your backline and play route. I guess you could play dominate with them. I'm sure a lot of people have done that. But a lot of the time, I think you're probably just planting a banner with an icon bearer and just sitting there. Yeah, I mean, you're probably not playing envoys with plague marines or I'm sorry, not envoy. Oh yeah, envoy or martyrs. Definitely not martyrs.
No.
Um, they are tanky. I think they're a worse team than AOD in general right now. Like I think that matchup probably isn't too one-sided, but I think like into the field, I like AOD a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Plagues are probably like a low B for me. Like
Okay.
I think I'd put them above Breachers, but probably below Kasrkin. And then it's my turn.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna talk about. Do we just get it out of the way, Ryan? We just get Murderwing out of the way.
Yeah, mine as well. We're almost 40 minutes in, so. Baron of Dice is the official dice sponsor of Command Point. No matter what army or kill team you're playing, Baron of Dice has a dice set to match. With hundreds of different dice sets available, you are sure to find a set to fit the aesthetics of your faction. And now we are proud to announce that Command Point now has our own dice available for sale through Baron of Dice. Check them out at the link in the description. Thank you once again to Baron of Dice for sponsoring the channel.
Yeah, let's do Murderwing.
All right.
So obviously they're S tier.
Obviously.
Yeah, they're the best team, and I think there's I mean, you could do a whole video on talking about. I think the current situation with this team. I have a lot of thoughts. I'll try to keep it short.
Yeah.
They are first of all. I mean, I think the big thing, like big story right now, is that Murderwing is getting banned in some tournaments in Europe, or in some, I say, some countries in Europe, and it's at the very least it's being considered uh, all over the place. Now, I think that on a let's send a message to GW level, banning the team is not an egregious position to take. I think it's somewhat reasonable. Um, in a vacuum, outside of like the saying we're frustrated with every release having like at least one busted team, like 5 boxes in a row, 4 or 5 boxes in a row. Beyond that, if you look at the team in a vacuum, they are not good enough to ban. There have been many teams that are busted in this game's existence that we've never banned, and I get that's not the point. I think the only team I've ever really called for a ban on, and I don't even think I really did this publicly, was Chaos Cult on release. Murderwing is not as busted as Space Wolves on release. They're not as busted as Canoptic on release. I don't think they're as busted as Sanctifiers on release. That's probably it, though, this edition. Now, I will say they are objectively overpowered on Volcus, especially. It is like
Yeah.
really stupid how good they are on Volcus. But my hot take here is that this is more of a Volcus problem than a Murderwing problem. And I think it's kind of exposing the flaws in Volcus as like our primary map that we use in competitive.
Mm-hmm.
If we were still doing Octarius, or if say we were defaulting to WTC, Murderwing would not be as oppressive as they are. What is really, really problematic is that they can throw 4 to 5 guys on advantages and be in heavy cover, pretty much untargetable, and also be in spots where they can threaten 2, maybe 3 objectives. And you pair that with malicious narcissism to make them go last, and they play the crit op very well and a lot of crit ops, and they have recon on an elite team with malicious narcissism, which is a very, very good combo for tac op.
Yeah.
But anybody that's been playing them on Tomb World knows that they are a very strong team there, but they're not ban immediately level.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to like yell at the TOs that are banning them. because I get the idea. But I don't want, but I just want to say that for the people that are not like deep in the weeds and are hearing about this team getting banned and thinking that this is like the sky is falling, this is like the best team ever. They're not. They're the best team right now, I think, because of Volcus, but they're not unbeatable outside of Volcus. Volcus is just kind of stupid. The terrain up on the top of the vantages, like the walls on the vantages,
Yeah.
should not be heavy. Um, if we were playing, like I said, on Actarius or WTC, this whole like vantage flooding strategy that we're seeing from Murderwing players that is like unstoppable wouldn't be unstoppable against a lot of the teams in the game because Seek Light is a rule that exists, and on Volcus it might as well not exist a lot of the time because
Yeah.
it's just 95% heavy cover. And there's not a lot of like pure Seek in the game, which I think is good. But then this team kind of just exploits that.
Hmm.
And they just have crazy threat ranges, and they're 6 Marines, and they're very tanky. Um, I mean, they're not even that tanky. They're just 6 Marines, and they're very killy.
Yeah.
They don't have any like ignore injury. They can't ignore stun. They don't really have much damage reduction. Like the leader has damage reduction, and then they have like a really bad melee damage reduction strategy play that you shouldn't use. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm playing them a little bit right now in the CBTS team tournament, and they're extremely strong, and they're the best team right now. But they're not like a auto win a major because of the fact that I think on Tomb World there's a little more nuance. I think to playing them.
Yeah. The game that you played last night against him, Shane, was that on Volcus?
It was on Volcus, yeah,
Interesting.
and I won.
Yes.
Although should I have won? I don't
I don't
know.
know. It sounded like you got pretty lucky with the poison nade that you threw there.
So are we talking about that team then? Is that the next
I
team?
mean, if you want to, I mean, we've already
Sounds like you're
segued into
segueing.
it. I think I'm gonna
You gotta
segue
segue.
right into Hand of the Archon. Hey, Hand of the Archon, welcome back to. I don't know if you ever left B tier. You're getting up there. You're getting up in the world, Hand of the Archon. Yeah, the changes to the way that their pain tokens work are pretty nice. They're a lot more plentiful. It feels like operatives are still solid. Don't really know why the Crimson Duelists got nerfed way back when. Still, with the rework to their pain tokens, they're a pretty solid team now, Shane.
Yeah, dude, I love Hand of the Archon. Like I've been playing them a lot. For me, it's like it's not even like I haven't been playing them for any reason. It's just every time I play Kill Team lately, I'm like yeah, I'm gonna play Hand of the Archon. Like they're fun. Um, they are just like good, man. I think that they are. I think they check a lot of the boxes. I think for a good team, they are like. It's weird because they're simple. I think I would consider
Yeah.
them to be like a pretty simple team. Um, and I would say because of that, they like the mental load isn't crazy, but there's a lot of thought that goes into it. And what I really like is that the models themselves are like so flexible. Like a lot of them can threaten with shooting and they can threaten with fighting. I think their action economy is pretty good. It's like just pain tokens in general just feel like such a like fun mechanic. Um, and in the new buff, they just are like swimming in CP like at all times. Like you start
Yeah.
with 4 CP every game, and then chances are, and then you go to 5 on turn 2. Chances are you're going to have 6. If you lose initiative, you get 6. If you're going first, you're going to go to 6. You might get 7 depending on what team you're playing against. So they have a lot of CP to spend, and they have a great toolbox of firefight and strategy plays. I think they're really good into elites, just because the piercing 2. I think they're really good against hordes because the like basic agents can double kill like horde models pretty easily.
Hmm.
I think they might have some problems into like mid range teams, but I don't even think it's that bad in anything. And their recon and like they're like this team that has the capacity to be really aggressive or really passive because they can sit back and play like retrieve, or they can be really aggressive if they want to, if the matchup calls for it. Um, I feel like I would put them as like a low A tier, honestly. And um, what's funny is like I'm seeing like other people's takes on this team, and I saw one tier list. I think it was the Great Lakes tier list where they wanted to put them in like S tier, and then I saw like the Spanish tier list had them as like D tier, and I'm just like, what in the world? I think they're a strong team, and I I really like them like that. I've been playing them a lot, and I don't feel like I'm ever at like a huge disadvantage. Like I think they don't get skewed against by any teams that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, there's some teams that I think are maybe like harder matchups and some teams that are easier, but I just love how simple they are. I love how flexible the toolkits are and the models and all the CP you get. And I don't know. They feel good.
All right, well, I guess that was my pick, Shane. Um, felt it was really
Yeah,
more
I guess
like
we'll
your
go.
pick. Um, is there a team that you really want to talk about right now? Or should
Yeah,
I
let's
take
do.
initiative here?
Why don't you take initiative?
All
Go
right,
ahead.
all right. We'll
I'll take the
talk.
reroll.
Yeah. We'll talk about Tempestus Aquilons here. Um, I think these guys are still solid, pretty much in whatever situation you drop them into. I haven't had the chance to play against them or as them into Murderwing, so I'm curious as to how they would fare in that matchup, especially the interaction that you might see with the warp talent coming out of the warp while you still have some guys that you're going to be dropping in. I think that's a kind of interesting game of cat and mouse that can be played. So, I mean, I think probably low A, high B is still a safe place to drop these guys, hot drop these guys even.
I mean, I think they're explicitly better than like Kasrkin, which is probably their closest comparison.
Hmm.
Um, and they did take, I think they took some small nerfs from the flank, the hits to flank.
Oh, true, yeah.
That was a team that I think was like really unfairly like good at flank.
Hmm.
Here's an interesting interaction actually that I didn't really think of with Murderwing. So on turn two, a lot of the time you're going to see Murderwing when they're out activated like against teams like this. They will play malicious narcissism um, to like wait out. Um, but maybe I'm wrong about this. I'm only thinking about it when you just said that.
Hmm.
But malicious narcissism says that um, you can pass your activation, that last activation on that last guy, uh, whenever any ready enemy operatives are in the kill zone. So
Mm.
keyword being in the kill zone. So I
Mm.
think on turn two, I don't think they really get to use malicious narcissism against like a good
I
Aquilons player. Maybe.
could we have some breaking news right now? I'm gonna pull up the Aquilon rules right now.
Do they count as being in the kill zone? They're not in the kill zone.
I don't think they would.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Some rules spaghetti breaking live. Yeah, they're instead of in the kill zone, they're placed to one side. They're not
Mm.
in the kill zone.
No. Yeah, they're not in the kill
So
zone.
as long as all the guys that are in the kill zone have activated, and the only guys left to activate are in the sky, the murdering player cannot use malicious narcissism. They got to activate
That is
like a
that
normal
is
elite team.
that is a fascinating bit of tech. I'm gonna have to
You
highlight
know what? Put
this.
them in A tier just for that.
Put him in A tier. I already had him in A tier, Shane. I already had him in A tier.
Yeah.
Where in A tier now that we
Oh,
know
okay.
that Aquilons are the hard counter to to
Yeah.
Murderwing.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah,
they're pretty
yeah.
good.
I jest.
I mean, probably the bottom of A tier. I think that's
Eh,
probably
eh,
right where you got them is
sure.
okay. Um, it is just like and okay, they're a recon team. They can play really aggressive. They can play really passive. I love it. Um, they're just good. They're pretty good.
Neat.
They got 11 activations. They're basically a horde in this climate.
Yeah. I mean, they
There's not a
are.
lot of. I mean, teams like Blooded have disappeared. Deathcore have disappeared. Pathfinders are no longer with us.
It's like
Wormblade have gone away.
it's like them
So 11
cults.
activations is kind of like a horde at this point.
Yeah.
Brood Brothers, Kroot.
Oh yeah, Brood
That's about it.
Brothers for sure.
Breachers. Yeah, let's go with Scouts. Scout Squad. Man, Scout Squad they're pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. They did very poorly at Worlds. Brett Bouchard played them. Um, and Brett Bouchard's a good player, but he had a really hard time playing these guys. I think that they are like very deceptive. They're not like tanky, but they have a lot of wounds. And I think for some teams, like 10 wounds is just like enough of a break point where they have some good matchups. They've received plenty of buffs over the last couple data slates. Their forward scouting tactical maneuver is twice per battle, which is great. They got Astartes training like super buffed the firefight ploy to let them They can shoot twice or fight twice, and they can shoot twice with like the sniper now, which is just like a marine killer, but it costs
Yeah.
like 3 appeal to do it, but whatever. Their tracker got buffed, raw physiology got buffed. I think all these buffs, it's like a lot of little quality of life buffs. It's probably enough to lift them into C tier. Probably I'd put them above like Vespids, below Deathwatch. They're okay. I think they're still overall pretty underwhelming, but um, I think they're a solid enough team that you can kind of compete with them. At least like seriously, and not get like blown out every game. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I haven't really played against Wolf Scouts or as Wolf Scouts, so I'm kind of firing from the hip on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But they have good tac ops too. I like their tac ops.
All right, let's go ahead now and move on to Nemesis Claw, Shane. I like Nemesis Claw. Who doesn't like
Ooh,
Nemesis
yeah.
Claw? Nemesis Claw is an interesting
A lot of people
team.
like Nemesis Claw.
Yeah. They have, of course, like a lot of other teams on this list, been outshined by the Murderwing recently. I still think they're pretty solid. I think I still like their matchup into like Angels of Death. I think they have a fine matchup into most of the teams in A.
I
I think,
think AOD and Nemesis Claw are pretty close.
yeah. I think if I'm playing,
Like I think he put either one ahead of the other,
yeah,
but I think that's where they are, right? Like in
yeah.
that A tier.
I think just because of the ventriloquist operative, I want to put them above Angels of Death because that's what gives them the edge in that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I
Yeah.
think you could put them above AOD. I'm okay with whichever order we have those two in. I think they're very close.
All
I
right.
think they just play pretty well. I think they do have some struggles with tac ops if they're playing against like a passive opponent.
Mhm.
Um, like their options really just being like seek and destroy or steal intelligence, and it's not always easy to get those off
Mm-mm.
against a good player. But I mean, AOD has similar problems with seek and destroy and security. So,
Yeah. All right. Back to you.
all right, next up, yeah, next up, let's do Kroot. Ryan, Kroot got buffed.
Love
Kroot
Kroot.
got the buff that I wanted them to get for. Yeah, Kroot got
I
the buff
like.
I wanted them to get for like ever, and they're pretty good. Like I think that they still have teams that they struggle to kill. That's always going to be a thing. And I think they play the mission as good as any team, maybe better than any team. They play tac ops as good, if not better than any team. They're quite a bit killier than they used to be. The 3/5 on a bunch of their stuff, I love. Playing Kroot and you run into Gormongers, you kind of just cry. At least I think. I mean, that's been my experience in the matchup playing as and against, like on both sides of it. I don't know. I think if they're in A, they're like the bottom of A.
Mhm.
There's no way they're better than Blades of Khaine. So maybe the Kroot are like B tier behind Blades. I mean, if it wasn't for some of those horrible matchups, I would probably be playing Kroot right now. But I don't know. They might still work. I don't know. It might be okay, but they're very fast. They have 12 activations.
Yeah.
They're the highest activations in the game, along like tied with a few other teams. Yeah, I mean, I think where we have them is fine. I also, now that I look at it, I think
Yeah.
Blades are better than Aquilons too. I think Blades should be an A tier.
We'll keep Aquilons up in A. See if we can't fill out this B. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and get the we'll get the orcs on the board.
Mirekas.
Yeah. Yeah. Your Rekkas. Um.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I played them a lot, obviously, at Worlds, after Worlds, before Worlds.
Mhm.
Um, I was really excited for Canoptic to get nerfed because I thought that would bring the Rekka meta onto us. Um, but I don't really actually think that's happening. Um,
No.
I think that they are good. Like I would put them, man, they might be bottom of A tier too. I think I like them more than Aquilons as like a team.
Mhm.
Probably I'd put them below Blades. I think they just have a few too many bad matchups. Like obviously Murderwing is bad for them. Wolf Scouts isn't that bad after the nerfs to Wolf Scouts. That's kind
Mhm.
of a fine matchup, I think. Kasrkin is like impossible. Like try playing Rekkas against a good Kasrkin player. It is like horrible. One of the
Yeah.
worst matchups.
Yeah.
And I think they're much stronger on Volcus than they are on Tomb World. And you just have to deal with
Many
that.
many
They're
such
not terrible.
cases.
Yeah, they're not terrible on Tomb World, but they're way better on Volcus. And I don't, some people call them an Unga Bunga team. Maybe I'm biased because I played a bunch of Rekkas, but I really don't think they're an Unga Bunga team. I think they look like an Unga Bunga team.
Yeah,
And,
I think that's
but I
messed
think
up.
there's a lot. Yeah, it's screwed up. I would put them at bottom of A tier. I think they're actually a high skill team.
Shane, we are
Ceiling, I
getting
should say, high skill ceiling.
okay.
Very low skill floor, very easy to play, but I think not easy to master.
I guess we can talk Canoptic. Talking
Yeah,
talking
I
Canoptic,
mean,
or I just chose Commandos. We can talk
well, let's
Canoptic. Let's
let's
let's. We're already here.
yeah.
We're already here. What do you think of these guys?
Um, I mean, they definitely got hit with a bunch of nerfs, rightfully so,
Yeah, deserved.
very deserved. I don't know, they were just like toxic waste
Yeah.
before. They were horrible to play against, and now the Warriors. I mean, they did the thing that I was hoping they would do. They nerfed the Warriors' damage,
Yeah.
which is really big.
Hmm.
Um, and I think like I don't remember if we even did a tier list when this team was at its heyday. I think we
I
like
don't
skipped a
think
tier
so.
list.
Yeah.
They would have been in like an S plus situation before the nerfs,
Yeah.
and I think now they're probably still S,
Hmm.
but they're like very beatable. They're not as egregious as they were. They're probably I would put them like above Wolf
Wolf Scouts.
Scouts maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I mean ultimately I think the playstyle, that really boring like bunker playstyle that they have, that they were winning games with, it still works. It's just they're gonna like randomly kill you less often. Like before they would play that play style and you couldn't break them down and they were really good at scoring. But then also sometimes they would just like their basic grunts would just like mulch you, even if you're playing like Marines.
Yeah.
That's not really a thing anymore. Like that's gonna happen far less often. So which in turn means that like breaking through the front line of little warriors is less painful, so you can get to the back line a little bit easier. So there are teams that can actually like punch through, and I think like I think you can play against Canoptic a little more proactively now. But the core play style is still really strong. They're very like the guys that matter are still so tanky. And honestly, the little grunts are still pretty tanky for what they are supposed to be. They just don't kill you, which I think
Hmm.
is important. Um, so yeah, I mean, I like S tier.
Shane, now I'll let you choose the team.
Thank you, thank you. Um, let's do. I want to talk about Exaction Squad.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to pull these guys. I wasn't picking them because I was waiting on you to
Yeah,
grab these.
I was playing them quite a bit for like a few weeks there, and I like them. I actually like them, Ryan. I think they're pretty good,
Okay. Okay.
and I think they've forever had like problems with damage into elites. But I think with over the course of time, they've received enough buffs where I think it's not as much of a problem. Like when you have two crack grenades and you have your shotguns get piercing twice per turn, and you have like a lot of very reliable chip damage, and you have a grenade launcher now that's actually like a real weapon with 5 attacks instead of 4 attacks. Um, I think all those things together means that they don't have a Melta, but that paired with good melee and very good survivability on a lot of their models, they can handle elites, and I think they're hard enough to kill for a lot of the mid-range teams and horde teams as well, that they can play crit op amazingly. They're one of the best crit op teams. I think their tac op game is actually pretty good. Low key with martyrs, they are kind of sick. Um, it's kind of a weird play style, but I think it works. And you just kind of aggressively play the objective in a way that you don't with other teams. Uh,
Okay.
I love their ploys, man. I love the the firefight ploys, execution order, the like out of sequence fights that they can do. Um, I think they've got some really interesting operatives. I think the biggest problem is that I always feel like I don't have enough slots for operatives. I always feel like I'm leaving a good operative on the table, like on the side, and
Interesting.
not
Okay.
taking them. Um, I don't know. Like I kind of want to put them in A tier. As crazy as that sounds,
That does sound crazy, but I trust you.
I I don't know. I think all the teams in A tier can like kind of deal with them. Maybe
Uh,
top a B tier.
Okay.
But I do think that like when I was playing them, I was winning games, I was losing games, but I never felt like I was outmatched. Which going in playing as Exaction when I was picking up games with them, I was like expecting it to be really hard, especially because I'm
Hmm.
not much of a horde player, really.
Yeah.
Um, and it didn't feel that way to me. Like every game felt very winnable. Like if I was losing, it was usually a close loss. Um, but they just kind of get stuck in the mud with you, and I like the play style. It's a really patient play style. It's like a lot of the time my instinct would be to charge and fight, even if it's like a guy that has like one wound left. I would want to charge and uh, I'd want to charge and fight, and I'd think about it, and I'm like, actually, there's really no reason to charge and fight. Like, yes, I have a kill here, but why should I not just sit in melee with my shield that fights first and double parries when I can shoot into combat with the rest of my team? It's just like you have to think about the game a little differently.
That's
And for that,
interesting.
I really like Exaction. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and choose the Mandrakes here, Shane. Mandrakes
Yeah.
were like low key the secret sauce into Canoptic when Canoptic was
They
in
won
its
worlds.
heyday. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah.
I mean, because of that, I feel like we gotta put them in A at the very least. Um,
So I have my thoughts on Mandrakes, and I just want to get this out there. I wanted to do a whole video talking about worlds, and I just didn't do it like a worlds breakdown outside of like my experience. And one of the things I wanted to say about Mandrakes was that I got really like low key kind of annoyed with hearing people talk about Mandrakes after Worlds and saying like, well, it's not that Mandrakes are good. It's just that like it's just that like the players are really good that took them. It's like the really good players took Mandrakes. Which first of all, not I just want to get ahead of it. Obviously, Ace and Netra and Adrian are amazing players. So is everybody else that was in the top 16 of Worlds. We're at World Championships. Anybody that's going to win Worlds, regardless of what team they're playing, they're an amazing player.
even to make it
I
to
don't think
Worlds, like
yeah, I don't feel like I need to. I shouldn't need to say that, but I feel like
I
what
can
I'm
hear
about
him
to say
typing in the
is.
comments already. They're
I just don't
coming.
want to get that misconstrued. I'm not taking anything away from these players.
No.
Um, when there are three of the same faction in the top six at Worlds, like first place, fifth place, and sixth place, I think we're all Mandrakes. That is an S tier team. That's in
Yeah.
playing against them before, during, and after Worlds, and not before really, because I was not on the wave, but
No.
during Worlds and playing against them after Worlds, and like really testing myself against this team, against good players running them the right way, the way that like Ace and Netra and Adrian showed people how to play them at Worlds. They were just like too good. In the hands of a good player, they're way too good. And there was so much of this, oh, well, Mandrakes aren't that good. It's just the good players took them. And I think a lot of that comes down to people just don't want to admit they were wrong about Mandrakes. Nobody thought Mandrakes were S tier outside of like some people in Europe and Spain. And Mandrakes showed up, and there wasn't a ton of people playing them, but the people that did play them kind of like dumpstered most of their games. And I think people just don't want to admit they were wrong. I was not on Mandrakes, and I will admit I was totally wrong about the team. And I'm comfortable to admit that. Um, they're clearly S tier. They just took some nerfs. Um, I think they are still S tier though, honestly. Um, the nerf to Periodic Projection I think was needed. It's still an extremely good ability, and I think the way Mandrake players were using it before, it's not really going to change much. They're still going to use it the same way. It's just taking away less stuff from your opponent. Um, and there was one other change, and I'm drawing a complete blank on the other nerf. It was the leader's thing to stop you from activating. Basically, if he's already said no to you activating within six of them,
Hmm.
then he can't stop you again. Um, which good, but that really only takes out like the edge case scenarios. Like a lot of the time, you ask a Mandrake player to roll like multiple 3-ups in a row, they're gonna fail like after I don't know a couple.
Yeah.
Um, the fact that he's pretty reliably stopping you still is really good. Um, and I think the team is still great on tac ops. I think they are still a little bit too flexible. Again, I don't think they're the top of S tier or anything, and I think where we have them at the bottom of S tier is appropriate. Um, they still play pretty well in a Canoptic Circle, and yeah, I mean, I think they're just an S tier team.
Where are we putting them in S tier though, Shane? I feel like when it comes to the top, the tippy top of the pyramid, we got to get a little bit more granular.
Yeah, I think bottom of S tier. Now it's me.
Yes.
Uh, oh man. Okay, let's get a team out of the way that I really don't have a lot of thoughts about, and that's Brood Brothers.
Okay.
Not many people were playing them at Worlds. They are like, and we'll do this as a package because I think you could put these teams side by side. And that's Brood Brothers and Inquisition. They're like the weird horde teams that are like kind of like a classic horde in the style of Deathcore,
Mm-hmm.
like Vanguard last edition, where they're kind of like very fragile operatives that are, you know, eh, more about having tricks than being reliable. That are typically kind of just hard to play. Um, and I know we talk like a lot of the time when we do our tier list, we kind of say we don't factor in like difficulty to play because we're assuming the top like level of play. But what I've seen at this point is that it doesn't matter how good the players are. These teams are, I think, too hard to consistently like. There's a reason people don't take them to majors. Like top players aren't taking these teams to majors very often, even though they're considered to be good. So I think after a certain point, you have to rank them lower because of they're very just tricky.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, I think Inquisition and Brood Brothers, I think are B tier. I would probably put them like maybe between Exaction and Kasrkin. Like I don't know, it feels weird saying that I think Exaction is better. I think if I don't know, for me personally, I would feel way more comfortable right now. And again, this is like me saying Exaction are underrated too. So
We'll bring in Chaos Cult. Bring in the Chaos Cult.
I think they're pretty good. I expected like more Chaos Cults at Worlds because the team felt really strong to me.
Okay.
Um, but like it kind of didn't happen. Uh, I guess they're kind of like harder to play. I don't know. They're weird because they're like by all accounts they're like a pure um they're a pure melee horde. They don't have a
Yeah.
lot of like alternative ways to approach, and it kind of comes down to like I had some trouble, but I also wasn't very familiar with playing against them this edition. So maybe that was part of it. But they felt really strong in my experience. So realistically, they're probably like a high B tier team. I don't know. They have like a lot of turn one aggression, which I think is interesting. I love their firefight ploys, and I think the toolbox is interesting, but they're clearly not. I don't know. They're not winning stuff all over the place. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And I do think that their tac ops aren't particularly amazing into like a passive player, like somebody who like a team that is comfortable playing passively. That's part of it. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with this team, so I
All
can't
right.
speak too heavily on it. Let's go ahead and pick Ryan. Let's do Jaegers.
Sure, yeah.
And man, I feel sick to say this, but I think Jaegers are our D tier.
Oh no. They are dwarves, so
Yeah, Deaver Dwarf.
yeah.
Um, they are just like I just feel like every new team that comes out, like the meta just gets worse for Jaegers. Like every release is just another couple teams that I don't want to play Jaegers into.
Mm-hmm.
Like look at all the teams in the top of the tier and top like S tier. And like, dude, I don't want to play Jaegers against any of the S tier teams. It sounds horrible. Some of the A tiers, like I think that their saving grace is that they aren't that bad into elves. Um, like I guess Mandrakes, I wouldn't hate playing Jaegers into Mandrakes. Maybe I'm just saying that. I don't know. But their tac ops are very static in terms of they don't really have like if the opponent doesn't run into them, I don't think Jaegers are particularly good at scoring tac ops.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they're okay at crit op, and they're like bang average as far as kill op goes. Like they're somewhat durable, but a lot of teams have the tools to take down Jaegers. That wasn't always the case. Like once upon a time, I felt like Jaegers felt like really tanky.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't it doesn't feel that way to me now. Um, and so I don't know. I don't think they're like horrible, but I don't think I could play Jaegers, man. I don't know. I just they don't have like I think they actually made top 16 at Worlds, so maybe this is too much. They didn't. It was a really good player took them, and he didn't have a lot of success in top 16 with them.
Mm-hmm.
I played them in Nova, and I think I finished like 10th or something. And they just feel they're too unreliable, in my opinion. And they're too defensive. And I think like the best team, like the keys to being a good team are like the ability to play more aggressively. And I don't know. I just don't feel like that's there with Jaegers. Like they're very incentivized to play defensively.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the Raveners, Shane. I'm really interested as to what you have to say about the Raveners. After you mentioned earlier that they had been nerfed. Um, but just how nerfed?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how Deathwatch being like just a 5 operative team is like not enough unless you have some like ridiculous tricks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Raveners are like in that realm of like they have pretty crazy like their core gameplay mechanic, the tunnel,
Yeah.
is I think good enough to boost them like as like a more playable team. Like I think I would if I had to invest time in a team and my choices were Deathwatch and Raveners, I think I would rather put time into Raveners.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's an argument that they're better than most of the stuff in B tier, but like I'd probably put them above Aquilons, um, maybe below Chaos Cult. Yeah, they're kind of interesting. They're very much like a like I don't think they're particularly great at scoring, and they're kind of like one of those teams like kind of like Stealth Suits where they have to play like a really patient game and it's a low scoring affair. Um, but they're decent at it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I really think their big weakness is TAC ops this cycle of approved ops. I think that they probably liked the old TAC ops better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. I got to talk to some Ravener players, but yeah, I don't know. They're just like they feel a little bit samey. Like I feel like they do the same thing every game, and they've definitely like some of their ability to play passively has been hit with the ride out of sight nerf, stopping them from tunneling out during the strategy phase, which was really powerful.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think they're good enough to hang at least. Let's do Salvagers, the other dwarves.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not very impressed by them to be honest.
Okay.
I think I would put them in C tier, probably like I don't know, maybe I could put them above Scout Squad. They have gotten quite a few buffs in like recent memory,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean they are very slow. Obviously they're dwarves, they're slower than Jaegers with the like Jaegers have the turn one moving up ability, which is pretty great. Salvagers are just slow outside of the jump pack guy. Their comms has gotten really nice. You know, the grudge as a mechanic, I think is really cool. And there might be a way to play them that is effective, but I don't know. They're a like they're one of these teams that are just not getting played, and it's there's so many teams in the game at this point that there's a lot of teams I don't see. And Salvagers is one of them. I think that they are a pretty patient team at this point. Um, and again, I think that's kind of a common thread here at the bottom is there's a lot of these teams that are like forced to play more passively, which I just don't think is a good niche to be backed into.
No.
Um, I like the changes. I'd like to see somebody pick this team up and have success, and prove me wrong. I think I've said that a lot, and I think there have been some players in the UK I think that have been playing this team um, to some degree of success, but it has not translated much elsewhere. So I don't know. I'm comfortable with putting them in C.
I'm gonna go ahead and choose the Sanctifiers.
They took a lot of nerfs, but I think
Yeah.
they've been nerfed into a point where they're like just kind of balanced, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to be like a problem team. They might be weak on the weaker side, but I don't know. When I talk to Sanctified players, that's not really how they tend to feel about it. Um, I think the realistic story is that they're just kind of a middle of the pack team. I'd probably put them, I don't know, probably right around like probably where you have them is
Okay.
fine. They're security and seek and destroy, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so,
And
yeah. That's tough.
yeah, I mean they're 11 operatives. Yeah, they're 11 operatives, so they're basically a horde. Um, but yeah, I mean they're not like oppressive anymore, and I
No.
think they play somewhat fairly. They kind of fall into a similar like niche as Navy Breachers, I think, where they're like a tanky horde that doesn't hit super hard outside of a few operatives. Um, they're a little more melee slanted compared to something like Breachers,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. They're in the same like I think B tier is kind of just like a glob of like the teams that are like very similar in power level.
And I mean, like, I guess this is like kind of this is kind of like where we want the game to be, right? We want a lot, the
Yeah,
majority of the teams to be balanced. So far, that is exactly what this graph is showing you.
let's do Felgor.
Okay.
Um,
You love
I think
Felgor.
Felgor are yeah, Felgor are a good team. They placed third and fourth at Worlds. Um, I think they're I don't know. I think the flank nerfs have for me it kind of puts Felgor into a spot where I'm not as like psyched about them.
Mm-hmm.
I still like them a lot, but I think part of the reason they were doing so well is, first of all, I think people aren't particularly like good at playing into Felgors, and I even learned that like for all the times I've played Felgors, I wasn't very good at playing against them myself,
That's crazy.
and I got whooped at Worlds against them, and then thought about the matchup, and then played them again at Worlds and won with Rekkas. But so I think there was a level of inexperience in terms of like people just aren't super versed into like the matchup,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think the way to beat Felgors is like you have to play a very like it's a very concerted, focused play style of like depending on the team you're playing. I think there's a more of an emphasis on shooting them, um, just trying to frenzy, not trying to fight, not trying to get shipped if you can ever avoid it.
Right.
Um, but yeah, and I think a lot of the success was built on I think that paired with um, I think just in general they were really good at flank, and flank is I think a lot more reasonable now. I honestly I think they lose to Gormongers just straight up. If I had to like that matchup is I think not good for Felgor, and I think Felgor were a little bit benefited by the fact that Raveners were scaring off Gormongers and Canoptek were scaring off Gormongers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and honestly, I think I like Gormongers more right now if I had to play a team, but I would put Felgor above AOD and Nemesis Claw, I think.
So my last pick, it's got to be Hierotek Circle. I'm gonna snipe this one from you, Shane. I'm gonna choose Hierotek Circle. Um,
Okay.
Last I checked, is there still only one correct leader operative to run with these guys, Shane?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's Chronomancer. For sure. They were pretty much, I mean, for like a second there, they were like D tier because they like quote unquote fixed kill op for them. But it was like written in a way where the team was just like you were just getting 5 on kill op every time you played against them.
Yeah.
They have clarified the kill op situation with Hierotek. They count as a 5 operative team now. So every time you kill a Hierotek operative, you get a kill op point, but it goes back if they get reanimated.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually like a really good balance of like making them fair to play against. Um, and now that they don't auto lose, we can take like a real look at the team again and kind of figure out like how we actually feel about it. And I think they're a good team. I think they're probably like a high B tier. If I had to put them somewhere, it would probably be like above Chaos Cult, maybe below Exaction. I don't know. I kind of like Exaction. But yeah, I mean they are magnify. There's some controversy about whether you can magnify on conceal because the way they wrote it now they changed it, which I think is obviously not what is. They just need to like put it on FAQ saying you can't magnify and conceal because like what is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
The operative is shooting and bouncing their shot off of another guy, Why would he be able to do that on conceal? He's
Right.
shooting a non-silent weapon, but it's just written in like a spaghetti way where some people are saying rules is written. You can shoot on conceal with magnify. They did get rid of a lot of the use case of magnify, where like you need to see the guy you're shooting and the guy that you're magnifying off of, which is whatever. But they still get a lot of rerolls. They still have they still have their teleports on turn 2. They can come back to life. That's still good. I think you need to play really aggressively against them
Hmm.
because they can't do their teleports on turn 1 like they used to be able to do forever ago at this point. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think they got legs for sure.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm happy to hear that they are not, out in the cold anymore. Uh, Last team, Shane.
Rattlings. So rattlings are they're kind of like they're kind of interesting. They play the crit op amazingly. They are very good at attack op. They don't have recon, but they play envoy just like so well.
Hmm.
Um, just with the weight of activations and like they can move their models around quite well. I don't know. I think when you look at their rules on paper, they look pretty amazing now after the buffs. Like they looked good before and they look amazing. But like I think in practice, playing against very good players, this might be a hot take. I think they're strictly worse than Kroot, who I think are in the same niche as them. Okay, the rattling guns hit harder than the Kroot guns, but it's much easier to get a shot with a rattling gun than a Kroot gun. Or sorry, vice versa. It's
Yes.
much easier to get a shot with a Kroot gun than a rattling gun.
Yep.
Um, they're less mobile in the ways that like you want to be mobile to be aggressive in terms of like attrition. I mean, they have less activations than Kroot, which is a big deal. They get the Ogrins. The Ogrins can't really do mission actions. I mean, they can, but it costs an extra. So typically you have 8 guys that can actually do mission actions. And if you're playing against a team that can chew through the Ogrins and is tricky enough to like avoid getting shot by the snipers and the bomber and stuff, like eventually against Rattlings, you're going to have to give up some shots. But I think as a pure attrition team, it's not like they're blowing Kroot out of the water anymore with the Kroot damage buffs. These awesome sniper rifle profiles that you get to see. You're not actually getting to like fire them most of the time. It's mostly the
Right.
threat of firing them.
Hmm.
Which when you think about it, like you can have like a Brood Brothers team and like a Melta and a Plasma just waiting till last activation are protecting the same threat. Um, you just have a little less redundancy, but it's not a heavy weapon, so there's that. They're good. They're really hard to play, and I don't know how much like if the juice is really worth the squeeze. And I think if you want to play Rattlings, I would urge you to try Kroot and play it. Not an easy team either, but play Kroot like 10 times with kind of similar mindset that you use to play Rattlings, and
Hmm.
maybe you'll see what I see, which is I think Kroot is just a better version.
All right, guys. So this is the tier list for, I guess, winter 2026.
Yeah.
Shane, is there anything that we want to revisit or kind of smooth out here? B is pretty crowded, but I mean, if there's any tier that should be crowded, it should be the B tier, right?
I have like this itch to put Exaction in A tier. I don't know if it's
You're
just like
you're crazy,
memeing.
man.
Like
You're crazy. I mean, I will say, hey, you know what? I'll give you this one. I'll put him in B tier, or excuse me, in A tier, uh, under Rekka's, but only because B tier is so freaking crowded right now.
I don't know. Like a lot of the B tiers, if I'm playing them, there's like something in S or A that I'm just like, oh my god, that's
Hmm.
horrible and impossible.
Yeah,
I'll never beat that team.
yeah.
But with Exaction, I feel like I have at least a game plan into like everything, which I feel good about. Maybe I'm just coping. Um, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, no, certainly like
That'll be
having
the hot take A tier.
it certainly is a hot take A tier. I'm not sure how many other people are on this Exaction Squad train, but hey, if you guys are, let us know in the comments down below. Let us know what you guys think of this tier list. Is there, anything you think that we missed about any of these teams that would have moved the needle on them one way or the other? Thank you all for watching if you've made it this far in the video. If you want to continue supporting the channel outside of the usual, like and subscribe, comment, that sort of thing, we do have a Patreon. We do have a Discord as well that you can go in and check out and join and talk about all things Kill Team over there. Thank you all for tuning in and watching us, and we'll see you all again in the next one.